If we all believe that relationships are hard work, then this is what we are going to get. Words, the beliefs, the way we think is a very powerful approach to our reality. Several years ago, I said no to this paradigm and I started to invest really deeply in my relationship skills, understanding the underlying patterns, mechanics, blueprints, things at play. And oh my gosh, I realized that most of us invest more into our career than into our social skills. At that point, I had very clear we need something new. So 5 years ago, I founded Modern Couples, the antidote to couples therapy, because I believe that there is a group of people who wants to proactively learn these things much rather than wait until the shit hits the fan. There's a group of people out there, and you are probably one of them, and that's why you're here, who has no time for bad relationships. In this podcast, we talk about inspirational stories, role models, how to navigate the good, the bad, the ugly, and raise the bar, showing up for each other and for love. I speak with experts from different fields that potentially have never thought about how their expertise applies to relationships, but it does. And I share my own entrepreneurial journey. We talk about love, purpose, and growth. I invite you to listen up, not just with your ears, but with your heart. And share your aha moments, because that's what's going to rewire your brain to 10x your love. Welcome to another episode in the Modern Couples podcast. Today, my guest is Analena Fuchs. Hi, Analena.
Hi, Marcella. I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for reaching out and inviting me.
Analena, to briefly introduce you, you are an intuitive human design and Gene Keys guide, creator of the Intuitive Human Design Teacher Training Certification. You help conscious leaders stop people pleasing and step into their power using unique holistic human design approaches. And on doing my research, I found your True Sidereal Summit that happened last year. You have your own podcast as well, and you are a leading voice in the human design space. I am really happy to have you here today because I would like to explore True Sidereal a little bit more and deeper, especially for my target group I work with and my audience are modern couples. It's the people similar to your target audience that seek purpose and meaning in life, and therefore eventually usually also uncover a spiritual side or a curiosity in astrological approaches. And I work with human design in my couples coachings for compatibility. And when I stumbled over True Sidereal, I was just captured by it, and couldn't find a lot out there yet. And maybe before we dive into that, um, just from your side, um, how did you connect with astrology, human design, gene keys, and eventually True Sidereal? A little bit of your story would be nice for the audience also to get to know you
Yeah,
better.
absolutely. Thanks for the invitation. So, I have always been searching. I never felt like I fit into the world how it is, the hustle and the grind. And there was always something deeper within me. And also, I went through a lot of struggles growing up, and also as a young adult when I became a mom. And there was this, seek within me, or this quest to find answers. And I think what we're all after is not the fame, it's not the money, it's that inner peace where you feel so lit up by what you're doing and you're excited to get up every day and you're making an impact in other people's lives. Yeah.
Mhm.
And on that quest, after I went through a lot of emotional processing, that was kind of my access point first, which I think in human design we call the deconditioning work. I gave myself that permission to feel what I was feeling because I was judging my whole life for it, you know? And someday, one of my friends, she was also in the coaching space. I was already a coach. I already had left corporate a few years before that. Or I was actually fired, which I wanted, but I was scared to do that. And she was like, "Hey, have you checked out this human design? And it's really cool. You should look at it." And, I saw the body graph and it was just this moment I will never forget. Oh my gosh, there's something there that's going to change my life forever. It's like almost when you're going to have a baby, you know? So that was true for me. Because in that moment, when I learned whatever this system was telling me about my human design type and my pro, these things, there was just something where I felt so seen. It gave me the permission as a first step to be who I am. Because I was on this journey of being an entrepreneur fairly young, unexperienced, and I was looking for answers outside of myself. I was investing heavily, over investing actually, into programs and services and coaching and more programs that were advertising they had all the answers. And I really fell for it. And then I learned, it was a great learning experience, in fact, that just because something works for another person can never ever mean that it's exactly going to work the same way for me. We are unique, we're individual. And I think that's a big message in human design overall. It's called the science of differentiation. And it's such a paradox because we feel like we don't fit in. But do we want to fit in and be like everybody else? Not really. We actually want to stand out and be that colorful parrot amongst all the other birds that look different. Because if we're trying to be like everybody else, that's the antidote of authenticity, right? And human design really was this like first stepping moment to be more of who I really was from the inside. And especially, so people pleasing, this is not something that I was so aware of at the time, but I was often doing things, saying things so that I was liked, that I was accepted. And that can only go so far. And then also overall, I had this feeling in my body when I found human design, or it found me, I could finally relax for the first time. It's like, the answer is me. It's nothing outside of myself. And I'm forever thankful for that realization. So that was my first point. And then because I had such a strong body response, and human design was also telling me, like, you're here to follow your gut. You're here to follow what brings you joy. And I was like, finally, I need to let go of all this stuff before that I was trying to force and make happen that just feels misaligned. And now I know why. And then I dove into certifications right away. And I felt very, very quickly confident to give readings. And something on my journey that is very unique, I think, is that I felt that I remembered this rather than I had to learn it. It came very, very easy to me. And I also very quickly created my own view of human design, because a lot of things that I learned, I was like, not really. I see it differently. I'm here to actually teach my own way. And I was very fortunate that I had teachers that kept reminding me that I don't want you to reading like I'm doing it. I want you to find your own way. I don't want you to copy all the things that I'm doing. Go do it your way. So that was really good for me, because while it wasn't easy, it really helped me to step into this authentic way of how I am seeing human design. It's an evolving system, right? I'm not here to just replicate what Ra Uru Hu put into the world. I'm very thankful for the foundation he has brought into the world and shared with everyone. But now I'm here to do my thing. And then eventually, when I saw how much relief it brought for me, then also in my personal life or relationships, I started to have more compassion for myself, also be more compassionate and accepting of my partner, those things we often just judge and criticize, right? It was a game changer for me, also with my daughter, to understand her better. And then I also heard about the gene keys. I think that's something that happens for many of us when human design comes, like, oh, there's also gene keys. The first time gene keys came, I was overwhelmed. I didn't get it. It felt too poetic. I returned the book. I was like, I don't want to have just dust piling up on it. Like, anyway, so I let it go for a while. But then 1 year later, it was Richard Rudd talking at a human design conference that I won a ticket to, luckily. And I listened to him. I was mesmerized by this man and his story and everything, and just his calmness and all of it. And I was like, I think I'm ready for the gene keys now. So I got the book again, and I never looked back. I got it. It resonated at such a deep level. And then I started to integrate the Gene Keys teachings also with the human design, because the 64 gates is what always fascinated me the most, way more than just the types and things, you know? And that's what I was always sharing with my audience. And the Gene Keys, in essence, are the energy of the 64 gates, which goes back to the 64 hexagrams of the Chinese I Ching. But it's presented in Richard's own unique way. And then when I work with my clients, I often brought my synthesis of human design, Gene Keys, my Analena wisdom. And they were like, wow, when you explain it to me, I really get it. Because some people find the Gene Keys challenging, right? To understand. It's very deep. And so I started to also then create a more practical version of these 64 gates. I call them the genius archetypes. And I created little, actually, I'm going to have them right here, these coins, which is basically the 64 gates. And in the Gene Keys, we call these programming partners, where you have one energy, but to really understand this energy, you also need to learn this energy. And that's what's really missing often in human design. In astrology, this is what we call an opposition. And in the Gene Keys, we call this a programming partner. And I call it a coin. It's like I cannot have a coin with just one side, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah. And, anyways, it has brought me so much joy. And it's this thing, just like right now, I could talk about this for hours and I feel so lit up. I'm extremely energized and I'm not going to stop talking. That's how I know this is for me, you know, and the results I see my clients, the feedback I get, what I'm being asked. And when I have a reading with a client, just the transformation that happens in that session when I especially allow myself to do it my way. I do everything very, very intuitively rather than overwhelming people with too much information. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, what I really love is you take us on a journey that almost feels like a personal development journey, but specific to one area of growth. And I do feel that even before we go to True Sidereal, because that would be the next
Yeah.
evolution probably in that these spiral dynamics, like the journey of development, of growth that goes in spirals. We see that from children to adults, from first time leaders evolving to charismatic leaders. We see that also in other areas where it's natural to continuously evolve, for better and worse, all sides in the development. But it's just a natural progression that can happen. And for me, many of the things that you shared, I could subscribe to as well. How the journey went. Like when human design came into my life, it was literally like I was a sponge in my head, and it just landed. I didn't need to study for it in
Yeah.
like especially in the beginning,
Wow.
and the first reluctance to look at gene keys, and just the overwhelm of words, but also there to see how obviously as time progresses we are invited to evolve the wisdom, or give it our flavor. And I think that's very natural and resonates a lot, to bring to never outsource intuition and just obey a book, but stay
Yeah.
connected with, you are here for a reason, and what
Mhm.
resonates in you. Now, what happened for me was I shared with you initially, I moved to Portugal a few years ago, and astrology came to me really like so strong and hard when I moved here, being close
Mm.
to the ocean, seeing the sun, the moon, the planets, like
Oh,
for the first time on a regular base every day, right? I see the sunset in the ocean. I see how we are this planet in this universe, and how the sun is, rising and setting. I see the moon. I see it every day. There's no skyscrapers in the way. While there is light pollution, I still see, when Jupiter is visible, I can see it, and it's just so tangible. And I started noticing for myself how really, let's say 2 days before a full moon, 2 days before a dark moon, a new moon, I would have emotional, deep yeah, realizations, and they were unplanned. I couldn't predict where it would take me. And then in retrospect, I would always be like, oh, wow, Aries full moon. Oh, wow, that brought, this topic up. And so
Mhm.
I opened up to the idea that it's not just me studying the books and learning about neutrinos, but really feeling how neutrinos, well, also in my day to day, really influence my mood and how I show up and the themes that
Mhm.
appear. And so, for me, when I heard about True Sidereal and the idea that, okay, the zodiacs as we see them in Western astrology, all in the same degrees and length of time, versus True Sidereal, where we look at really what is happening well, up there with the planets and adapting for the size of the zodiacs. And maybe you can explain it better because you have
Yeah.
trained it more. But for me, it was an instant wow. It resonates so much, the idea that what is actually happening up there influences exactly my zodiacs and changes my complete chart. And so
Yeah.
that was the reason why I reached out. I was like, where is an expert who can take me a little bit along the way and facilitate, not just for me, but also for my audience, the transition to bring in True Sidereal. And could you give us a brief introduction to yeah, what is so different about this versus the
Mhm.
others? Or how is the evolution?
Yeah, so basically, human design is based on astrology calculations, right? And the typical human design, and probably everybody knows where you go to all these websites online, is using tropical astrology. And I actually knew this years ago. And my teacher, Karen Parker, at the time, she actually did a video about sidereal versus tropical. And I always loved her because she was never judgmental. She was always open minded to anything. And she was like, you pick what you want. If you want sidereal, it doesn't resonate with me, but you can do whatever. And I just wasn't even interested in it. I was like, no, 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 I like what we're doing. And I wasn't actually into astrology at all at this point. That changed eventually. It came actually through my own clients. At some point, they brought up, hey, I have been doing actually, this came more from Vedic first, astrology, and then sidereal. And so we invited them to talk a little bit about it and teach. And I loved it. And, as a generator type, I responded and I'm like, ooh, I want to know more. And then I actually was like, you know what? I'm going to look deeper into this. I'm a Scorpio rising, so I like to go really deep into things. And I also have a lot of Virgo in my chart, which for me is just a validation why I like to be accurate and very specific. And if something is slightly off, I'm going to find the penny. I was like that when I was young with math always. And now it's just with astrology and human design. So, anyways, then I discovered there were already some people on YouTube that had found something called cosmic human design was the first step. And there was some Facebook groups. And then I found this mentioning of True Sidereal Astrology, which has been created by Ethan Chimenti from Mastering the Zodiac. Highly recommend you guys check that out. And then I was like, oh, so I went on the site and I pulled my astrology chart there. It was the first time ever that astrology did anything for me. Astrology before was kind of like, okay, yeah, well, like there wasn't a connection for me. There was no click aha moment. But here I was like, wow. I was like, that's me. And one of the biggest shifts that happened, I have a trine in all air signs in my tropical chart, and that trine shifted into all earth signs, which for me made so much more sense because the one feedback I got from people is how grounding I am. And I was like, yeah, well, I still have some air energy in my chart, but that foundational piece, it just felt like it fully fit me. And also my rising and my moon and all of it. It was just incredible. So I was like, okay, now this actually changes how we calculate the human design chart. And there were already people that had discovered that. And since I'm so to the point, I want to have things very, very accurate, I really started to ask, and is this really right how we calculate it? And da 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 da. And it was already like very, very accurate. But then I learned that this was all this year. We're in 2025, beginning of October as we're recording this. So I discovered this about 2 years ago. And there was still something with the calculation. There wasn't like a proper sign off between the human design community and the astrology, right? So more like communication, and this is how it is and should be, and but not this like, yeah, we all like agree on this. And anyway, so this now finally happened because luckily Ethan Shimenti, he officially released how he calculates it. It's called the midpoint method. That's something you may want to link maybe for the listeners so they can read it. And he always told me like, no guys, you guys have to wait. I have to really work on this. And it takes time. You cannot like force a person, right, to do this quickly. And of course we were all impatient. And so we worked with some manual values for some time. They were very, very close to what it is right now. But it gave us this opportunity to actually work with slightly different charts. And let me tell you something, that was one of the biggest blessings for me because I learned so much the art of detachment, not to take any chart as the answers for everything, rather to extract the wisdom and the gold and the story of each chart, because the human design chart changes very, very quickly with just a small degree difference, right? Not like in astrology. And basically now talking about what is true sidereal, so versus tropical. And I didn't know this first. I was literally like, what? So tropical looks at the sky of where the sun was at the spring equinox over 2000 years ago. And it's always 0 degree Pisces, right? That's always every year at the spring equinox, we have 0 degree Pisces. And then we have 12 signs. They're all evenly 30 degree. The way that nature looks like is that there's actually like a little wobble with the earth. There's something called the precession of the equinoxes. That every 72 years ish, this position in the sky at the spring equinox actually shifts about 1 degree. From this year to next year, or even from when you and I were born to now, like, let's have a degree, like, well, nothing. But over 2000 plus years, it's about 30 degrees. It's about a full sign off. So when I was born, I always thought I'm an Aquarius, and I was like, what does that mean? So if I say I'm an Aquarius, that would mean to me, Analena, that the sun at the time I was born was an Aquarius, right? I mean, that's kind of common sense. But that was not the case. And we have apps out there now. You can go back to 40 plus years ago and check how the sky looked like. And we have it today, and you can actually look in the sky. And when I was born, the sun was in Capricorn. And so today, too, when the newspaper says that the full moon is in Aries, most likely it was in Pisces. So very rarely it's the same because some signs are very big. That's the other thing. So Pisces is huge. Virgo is tremendously big. Aries is very small. We also have a 13th constellation, which is called a Ficus, which for me makes so much sense because the number 13 has a very significant role in history, also with Jesus and the disciples. And for me, this may sound a little esoteric or very spiritual. Human design with True Sidereal is really the pure connection to God, source, universe, to nature, our pure alignment of what we came here to be, right? And for me, tropical is like a shifted version where everything is already too fast because it's ahead in the circle in the sky, right? What tropical is saying. And I have this philosophy that that's why humanity is so rushed, because we're always like focusing on an energy that is yet to come. Like it's in the next 30 days with the sun, and with the moon, it's quicker. The moon is fasting, moving a little bit quicker in the sky. But for me, it's like, okay, if we are saying another thing, Pluto is an Aquarius apparently, but look in the sky, it's not. Jupiter is in Gemini, and then they say it's in Taurus. So it's just like, we're just inviting people like, check the sky. And it's not about one is right or one is wrong. I personally like to align with nature. And I have worked also with my tropical human design chart for years, and it was life changing. And then my own human design experiment took me to True Sidereal. If I were to deny that, I wouldn't breathe that truth of trusting myself, right? I would stay stuck in my head and like, yeah, no, but this is how Ra brought it into the world, and this is what the book says, and this is what people said. No, guys, like, you have your own sovereignty. You are here to make your own decisions, and you get to decide what feels right to you. So I'm just here to share another perspective. And I'm happy if you want to stay with tropical, maybe you want to work with both. That's actually what a lot of people do. I did that in the beginning as well, because there's still a lot of similarities and each chart has finer nuances. And I don't think that one chart is right and one chart is wrong. There just is. And you get to decide. You know, and where I'm at in my experiment, I'm fully with True Sidereal. That's where everything my clients are responding to. I even created a new certification because of that, because people have this quest within themselves to align as much as they can with how Mother Nature looks like, rather than this like, oh, we humans fix it in a way so it's more convenient, it's always the same. But no, it's like, it's different. It shifts and changes.
Short interruption because this message really needs to go out there. The quality of your relationships impacts the quality of your life. It is, in fact, the key factor. And here we are, fearing and shying away from commitment, shying away from the emotional work, when really this is what distinguishes us from the machines, embracing emotions and learning how to embrace differences. So modern couples, what started out as the small coaching business has turned into a university, or I like to call it a universe. It is the place where ambitious leaders can upgrade their relationship skills up front. It is the place where couples turn to when they wonder, should I stay? Should I go? Where we explore, if necessary, the graceful path of uncoupling. And it is also the place where we newly introduce bespoke matchmaking for ambitious individuals. If you are interested in any of that, because really every phase of life is an opportunity to grow your relationship skills, check out modern-couples.com. Once a month, there's a free masterclass where you can meet me, where we can connect, as well as if you like more the one-on-one approach, there is a limited amount of free discovery calls. See that you can get hold of one of them, and I hope we get to connect. I look forward to elevating your relationship. There was so much in there, and first off, I'm like, oh, everybody, you can see me learn. It's not called Sidereal, it's called Sidereal.
It's okay. That's how I say. I think it's called sidereal, but many people say
Yeah, you're
sidereal.
right.
So please, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But for me, it's the last 2 weeks have been a journey of, like on a meta perspective, seeing myself exactly in the inner monologue of like, oh wow, does this like crash my entire perspective on astrology? Is what I have been saying wrong all along? And then going to a momentum where it felt like, but if we are all one, then I trust that all of this is unfolding, or like the time is ripe. It's like all of this is unfolding just the way it's supposed to. And um, it's not so much the question of right and wrong thinking, which is like something we should let go entirely of in many situations, anyhow.
Mm.
But I have now hanging here like my human design chart and my sidereal human design chart. I have now hanging here my Western natal astrology chart, as well as my true sidereal Western astrology perspective and chart,
Mhm.
including, and I'm still learning that name as well, but Ophiuchus. And I am opening, I feel like I am asked to go to a spiritual gym, or even a perspective gym, where I need to train, exactly as you described, the idea of ownership and letting go. Also opening to new perspective, like what can unlock if I let go of me being a Capricorn and all of a sudden being a Sagittarius. It's like
Mhm.
everything is shifting and changing, and nobody's forcing me to do it, but um, I do feel there's a potential in letting go of that identity and the questions that come up with it. Also,
Mhm.
stepping out of the time logic of our society, which I have done many times to challenge the idea of like a 7-day work week. What happens if you live in a 4-2-3 rhythm? What happens if you live in a
Yeah.
10-day rhythm? It's quite an interesting um, experiment just to challenge your muscles on that level, because I think what most of us underestimate is the importance we give to our perception of time, like how much is really ruled and shifted by
Mhm.
the watch that we carry, and the idea of like things being in that rhythm.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting, and I'm not yet sure what I'm going to do. Am I going to say I'm a Sagittarius now or not? But what I found out is I have in my chart Ophiuchus with 2 gates activated, and I've been trying to find information on Ophiuchus, which is, in my mind, it's Britney Spears carrying the snake. Like that's the visualization of Ficus. I'm that generation who watched her at the Video
Mhm.
Music Awards. But I'm so interested in what, this 13th zodiac really stands for, and I have not yet been able to grasp: is it male or
Mhm.
female? Is it transgender even? To me, it resonates most with like the idea of Shiva even. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a cool question because I'm a Scorpio rising, but most of my first house is Ophika, so it's actually more of my energy, right? And first of all, we are out of the chart. Because I think when we use this, like, no, you are Marcella Anna Brebam, you are you. And even that name was given to you, right? Like, you are your soul in this physical body, right? And we are here to carry out or vessel through some wisdom into the world. That's kind of how I see it. And so Ophiuchus mainly is this energy where, so, Scorpio comes first, goes really deep, extracts the truth. But
Mhm.
then if we stay stuck in there, we're not really going to transform. So Ophiuchus is basically where the caterpillar that's in the cocoon
Mhm.
turns into a butterfly. It's like that transmutation that really happens. And then it shifts into, this is a rebirth, a full rebirth energy, right? So it's like almost without the Ophiuchus energy, we can't fully rebirth. We kind of stay stuck otherwise in these healing cycles sometimes, I find. And I think in the self-development world, we often see this, right? Like we always feel like there's something to fix. There's another thing we need to work on. We're never ready for anything. And here it's really like every moon cycle we go through this, right? Where Ophiuchus takes us out of it and we can really like let go of things very, very boldly. And to answer also a question about feminine and masculine, it's really both, because so gate one is in Ophiuchus, right? Gate one is the most masculine energy in the I Ching, in the human design chart, because all the lines of the hexagram are the masculine ones, right? And the
Mhm.
opposite in the sky, which is that other energy of the coin or the programming partner, is gate two. That is the most feminine. And so there is no masculine without feminine. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Right? So that's why, it's the very masculine, but it is birthed out of the feminine, right? It needs that opposition, that pressure in the sky to actually immerse out of it. And the gate one, especially in the gene keys, talks very beautiful about it. Like in the shadow, it's about this really deep melancholy and pessimism and very dark energy, and that's often what we resist. But when we can just be with that, I think it's called entropy in the gene keys, then what happens is, at some point when we're no longer trying to fix it, when we fully accept that state, pure creativity arises, and it's called freshness and then beauty in the gene keys. So a lot of artists have a lot of one gate one energy in their charts. So it's one of the most creative. It's called the creative, actually, also in human design. Yeah.
I'm going to sit with this. Like, this is my contemplation these days, but to make it a little bit more practical also. So, if I am new to all of this, there is I could go online by now. I think there is like free charts available. It's still tricky because, as you mentioned, like the numbers and the calculations have only been published recently.
Yeah,
I can link how to do it. I have found the sources and done that. But what can I do if so I am on that journey and here I am listening, I'm looking at the chart, and then how do I integrate it? Because quite practical, it's like, okay, am I going to start now saying the different zodiac and then I'm a different ascendant? I'm all of that different. And what have you experienced? How you integrate it in your life, in your being? Um, Maybe also, how do you introduce yourself to others now, if that's part of
yeah,
it? But how does it impact you and who you are in relationships?
yeah. So I have to say, I have stopped saying I am this and that, even though right now we're having this conversation, I've mentioned it, right? But I had this realization how we can over identify with stuff. So for me, it's like the tropical chart that I worked with before, and that was just a human design. I never really fully worked with my tropical astrology chart, just a little bit in my business. That was my foundation, that was my entry point, and it was amazing, right? It really brought a lot of awareness to me. And we humans are not static in any way or form. We're here to grow and evolve, right? And my unique journey brought this true sidereal version of human design into my existence in a very bold way, because it wasn't just about my chart. It was like, hey, you're here to get this knowledge out into the world, and shout it from the rooftops. I was like, okay. And it's fun for me, but it was very challenging, because
Mhm.
especially with people pleasing, what are other people going to think, and da 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 da. And it's more like the first step took me there, and now it took me to this even more aligned place where I feel even more grounded in my body, right? But I'm not making the first version wrong in any way. So to give you an example, I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator per my tropical human design chart. And it was life changing. Gave me permission to be multi-passionate. It gave me permission to embody the introverted nature of me, to do things that come easy and effortlessly to me. That's like the 4 line. I love to connect with people. That's the 4 line, and then the 2 line. So but and now I'm a 5-1 generator, very different chart, very different centers defined. And for a little while, I also had a 6-2 profile with some different variations in the sidereal. But now, we have these calculations fixed. And I found the same elements in my chart again. The 2 lines showed up in different placements. I think in my south and north node, for example, right? It was a lot to do with your path. And the 4 line showed up in other placements, and I still have multi-passionate energy in my chart because it's not just the type, it's the specific gates. And then there were other elements, like I had a defined throat center, now I have an undefined throat center. The undefined feels much more like me because when I'm around other people, I amplify energy much more and I can actually talk a lot. And then I really need my quiet time. And I have definitely experienced a lot in my life where I didn't feel heard at all. So yeah, it's there is no right or wrong. And two, in human design, what I see happening a lot is that people, oh, you have a defined circle, you have an undefined circle, and they see it as a black or white situation. That
Mhm.
is not helpful in any way or form. That's for me the conditioned way of human design. Because we all have energy. It's just how we learn about this energy and how we access this energy, right? Because oftentimes people are like, "Oh, I can't do it because I have an undefined sacral and I have to rest much more," or "I cannot reach out to people because I'm not a manifestor. I cannot initiate," and that's all very, very conditioned perspectives that are actually more limiting with people. And I have been observing this now for like 5 years, and I have found that when people go super extreme and let themselves define, especially like the super tiny little things in the human design chart, at some point when they realize how limiting that actually is, they actually walk away from the system, or what is this, and it doesn't work anymore. And the people that I see are very flexible, very open-minded, and they know that nothing outside of themselves, no system, if that's the Enneagram, human design, astrology, Kabbalah, all the things, right? You know, they all have the same message at the end of the day. Everything is about you are your own authority. It's about you trusting yourself. And there's just some validation for you that you need to hear, some confirmation so that you can trust yourself more, so you can be your most authentic self. And every chart you will ever work with in human design can never be bad, can never be wrong. Why? Because we have all of the chart. That's one of the things my teacher, Karen Parker, always said, and I didn't get it first. And Richard Rudd also says this over and over again. He actually makes a comment at the end of the Pearl sequence where it's like, well, and the joke of all is like, you actually have all of the 64 gene keys. Yeah, play with your profile, but at the end of the day, that's all in your DNA. And for me, a human design chart with specific gates, specific channels, specific centers defined or undefined, that's my access point. That's what's calling my attention, that can unlock something for me. That doesn't mean all these other gates are irrelevant for me. And when you really go into the depth of human design, you're also going to see that, for example, something we learn about the projector is this thing with recognition. They don't see themselves often, right? That same energy is in the two line. So a 2-4 profile is a very similar energy than a projector. But what we see a lot in the human design community is this very cookie cutter, you're this type, you're this type, you're this type. You can do this and you can do this. One is better than the other. And that's a very sad situation if you ask me. You know, so that has helped me a lot with my awareness and how I teach human design. And I think that's also why I'm so passionate about making it more practical, making it more universal, and making everyone realize that any chart you ever work with has a unique message. If you feel drawn to that chart, go in it. See what's in it for you.
I love that. I love that. Do we still have time for 5, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Because you answered initially by saying, I don't say I am anymore. Do you have a like just how would you introduce yourself? Is it more just quite short? What would I say? I am currently
Analena.
living as Capricorn. I'm currently exploring my Sagittarius self.
Well, in my true sidereal chart, I'm a Scorpio rising, you know, like,
Okay.
and again, I still say it here and there, but I'm really making a conscious effort
Yeah,
because I
I
have
like that.
seen how we over identify with it, and then it creates this illusion, and then also this, it's like an ego death we kind of go through, which I honestly think is a good thing, because just like for you right now, yeah, Capricorn, now Sagittarius, I mean, Capricorn flows out of Sagittarius, and how are they connected, and how can you, and from what I gather, you travel a lot, right? So you're probably already living it. And the Capricorn is not gone. That's really the message. You still have Capricorn also in your
I
chart.
really, I really like the wording of my access point to explore life now. And for me, the reason why I use human design for couples is not so much as in, here's your certificate, this is who you are. It's maybe in a nutshell. When I started with human design, it was, to find answers for more happiness in my romantic relationship. And when we did the
Mhm.
couples reading, it really broke open some gates of years of grief, of misunderstandings, and finally, finally having the vocabulary, or finally having words to communicate about certain just differences. And I think for both of us, it was the permission, or our personal development journey, to become more of who we are and to become better in verbalizing our needs and our differences. And it was really empowering. It was also too much too fast at that time, for the two of us, which is why, as a relationship coach, I don't do full blown human design readings, but it's about, can we start with some elements and,
Mm-hmm.
be with that together. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me now, after, I feel like for me, the timing is perfect. Like 5 years into human design, having found my balance with it, also working more with embodying certain energies and really having the permission or exploring or being playful or in certain moments just taking more of the courage because I am, right? And so now it feels like, okay, life is meant to be a playful experience. Like the whole money
Yeah.
situation and work and all of that, it's created by us, right? But when we go back to ancient times, there were storytellers and there were people who would be singing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of theater and drama, it should be much more present in our childhood, even because it is such a safe way to explore different aspects, characters, energies in who you are. And as you were sharing, like just getting a different access point, I was visualizing of like, yeah, I I get to, play from a different angle if I allow it to be, and if I don't hold on too much, and if I don't make it mean anything other than we are meant to experience, the entirety of life if we are open to it.
Yeah,
And so,
because so especially in astrology, like the way that the chart looks like, right, with the angles and the opposition, and if you have a trine, that's still the same, that kind of shape with the
mhm,
aspects. It's just shifted, and it's literally like you can, like this, right? If I'm going to look from here, this looks like a line. If I'm going to look from here, it looks like a circle. So it's kind of, you're just looking at it from a straight perspective up into the sky rather
yeah,
than I'm bending forward in some way, So obviously, with human design, it's a little bit bigger of a deal, and it's often crushing people because all of a sudden they're a different type and a different profile. But again, for me, that has been the most magnificent experience. And I have to say, also with my clients, what I have been seeing, I have never seen such wild alignment with people in their life where they're fully like trusting themselves, they're slowing down, they're really living a life that feels successful to them rather than what society tells them success should look like. And I tend to attract a lot of people like you, that I think that's why you reached out, that have this open-minded, expansive view. And if you ask me, that's very much Sagittarius energy, right? So
yeah, yes.
um, here you have it, and you can still build a business and have the Capricorn step-by-step energy.
Good.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly, it's not like we are all of it, and that's, I think, the beauty of it. Like we are all of it, and yet we are so individual and unique in that.
Would you say, so you have children, or how do you use True Sidereal now or human design with child education? Because human design came to this planet to empower the parents to
Mhm.
um, be more present and help their children step more into their uniqueness. But now you have
Mhm.
the two things, and I do feel it's, for me, it would have been overwhelming to do all at once.
Yeah, yeah. So with kids, I really focus on the very simple things like what lights my daughter up, right? Also, of course, some of the things do help me understand how much energy the child has, so that they need more alone time than other kids. Some kids need to be super active, and we label it easily as something that's wrong with kids. So it's helping me as a parent to be much more accepting with my daughter and my partner's daughters, and just to really see how we are different and how we are unique. And of course, the chart doesn't explain everything, right? But it says slip to be more compassionate with others and also with yourself. And also in my romantic relationship, it was a game changer because there were things that I used to take personal, and then human design made me realize, like, oh yeah, people have emotional waves. That has nothing to do with me. And there's some people that need more alone time. It's not that they don't want to spend time with me. Just that alone, relationship saving energy. Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's actually very, very universal wisdom. So there's also, I don't know if you know about Kabbalah. Kabbalah is also part of human design. And I have been learning a little bit more about Kabbalah in the last year and a half too. And that wisdom is very universal. And when you can see the wisdom of the sacral center as universal wisdom rather than it's either undefined or defined, we're missing the point again. It's more about we are all here to do what lights us up. We are all here to respond to life, even when you have an undefined sacral. And all the authorities we have in human design too, it's not just this one authority.
Mm-hmm.
You can have emotional authority and you can still have moments where you're in the moment making quick decisions. It depends on the context. Not every decision is the same because in the traditional way, I find human design highly, highly impractical. So it's much more complex. And I know, I get it. People want to have a quick answer. Oh, this is how you make decisions. So you don't have to actually go through the whole deconditioning process and fully embody your true essence and really learn what it feels like in your body when something is right and when something is wrong for you, you know? But that's really where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
So
But that means, like, for your relationships, you are now using true sidereal charts, right? Also
yeah,
for your daughter, that is,
yeah.
like, let's say, just the roadmap of orientation, or yeah.
hmm Yeah, and it's a very different chart. And also with my partner now, it's funny. Like I'm a 2-4 in tropical, he's a 5-1, and now we're the other way around. He's a 2-4, I'm a 5-1. It's a very interesting experience. And I can tell you, like I can see elements in both charts where I can say
Mhm.
that is helpful to understand the other person. You know, the biggest thing was with the emotional authority because I have an undefined solar plexus in both charts, and I still feel emotions actually quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, and the other person has defined. So emotional authority and just that alone has been a game changer for me. And that's another thing why I work so intuitively with human design. It's often one particular thing, if you go really deep into it, that can unlock everything rather than, oh my God, I have to figure out the entire chart. And then we're so frazzled all over the place. We're trying to figure out things in the mind. That's when we're the most disconnected from the body. And human design is all about getting out of the head and into the body.
Mhm.
So it's a tool of embodiment, but oftentimes we humans actually use it as a very mental concept. And that's when we fall more into the shadows. But we need to face the shadows. So this whole traditional human design, I find it wonderful because it brings up all the human shadows of like how we feel like we're better than other people, or I'm missing something, I don't belong, or I'm screwed because I don't have this defined. Putting things on a pedestal, that's great because it brings up all this like separation we feel inside so that we
Yeah.
can eventually see how we're all unique and how we're all equally valuable.
I love that. I love that. And for me, like, exactly that is, if whatever you are using, learning, or pursuing does not lead you there where, we develop more compassion or more understanding and get better at seeing things from different angle. If it doesn't do that, then, it's not serving
Yeah.
where we want to evolve. And
Mm.
um, oh, for me, that's a beautiful coming to an end of this session. But I want to give the last words to you, potentially something that I have missed asking also, because for me that journey is new. If there is anything else you would like to give to the conversation, but also if people want to learn and explore more about true
Mhm.
sidereal in the context also of everything that you also know, but how can people connect with you?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm pretty active on Instagram. I have been sharing a lot of human design wisdom on there. And then also, so I have a certification. It's called the Intuitive Human Design Teacher Training and Certification, where I really teach human design in a pretty advanced way. I mean, I start with the basics, and I especially, if you listen to me, I think you get a glimpse from my energy, what I stand for, how I see human design. It's not a cookie cutter kind of situation. It's going into really how I see human design and also then integrating how astrology, how the gene keys play into human design, and then also the True Sidereal. You can work also with tropical. That's totally a choice, but I give you all the latest updates on True Sidereal and the evolution there. It is still a little bit tricky as I'm speaking to pull True Sidereal charts for free because the Cosmic Human Design website has to be updated since the midpoint method came out. I hope that's going to happen. And right now, Genetic Matrix is the one place to go, but you have to have a pro subscription for it. But I'm hoping in the next month or two that I can have a calculator on my website. So we're working on that. I'll let you definitely know when that's out there. But people are more than welcome to reach out to me if they have questions. So yeah, and one thing that I want to tell everyone, like, follow what feels right to you. There's no right or wrong. You know, if this conversation sparked something in you, then follow that bliss. There's something there for you. And people may disagree with you, and that's always actually a great thing. You know, that really means you're onto something, I think. And it's about what helps you, if that's human design, if that's any kind of religion, if it's Buddhism, if it's Kabbalah, if it's Enneagram, if it helps you trust yourself more, be more unapologetically authentic self, and stop dimming your light. Like, stop the people pleasing, fully step into your power, who you are, speak your truth. Whatever system, whatever tool helps you with that, that's for you. And how boring would it be if everybody resonates with the same thing, right? We're here to have different access points. Again, that's for me to really connect to my highest self, God, source, universe. How I like to see that. So I hope this helps.
Thank you so much. And yeah, the my intention for this conversation was really to step out of the debate. Is this the right thing or wrong, and all of that? And I think you really captured that beautiful in here. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and the frequency that you brought into this conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Imagine a world where emotional mastery, relational support, and inner work come before heartbreak, resentment, divorce, reactivity. And you know what increases the odds of your 10x kind of love? Taking people along, sharing this with the people that have the biggest influence on you. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to my channel and share it with one or the 5 people that have the biggest influence on you and that deserve the 10x kind of love. Let's raise the bar stronger together.